Lagos State Police Command yesterday arrested an assistant superintendent of police known as Ayuba, attached to the Ajah Division, for killing a pregnant lawyer, Mrs. Bolanle Raheem, on Christmas Day in Ajah. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu condemned the shooting and killing of the lawyer. Sanwo-Olu pledged the state government's full cooperation with the relevant authorities to ensure speedy justice in the matter. Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police, Usman Baba, said Ayuba's unprofessional act didn't portray the Nigerian police standard operating procedure and core values. Joining me now via... All right, I understand we do not have our guests, but let's quickly have this discussions here in the studio with my guests, Babajide and Bolaji. But, you know, looking at the situation, Babajide, we understand the Nigerian police has condemned this situation, saying it is against the standard operating procedures and rules of engagement. What's your take on this first off, before we get into the other perspective on this matter?
You know, this idea of simply coming out to say we condemn what has happened, we are going to investigate, it's already tiring. Honestly, it's really tiring. We want to see concrete steps taken that will put an end to this madness. The police in our country appear to think that because they are carrying a gun, that they are superior to everyone. I mean, this was what the NSAS protest sought to
fight against,
address before it was hijacked by some never-do-wells and other people. Some of us supported NSAS, and we will never regret supporting NSAS because we wanted that problem addressed. I still remember what the Vice President said. He said he saw some of the videos of police brutality and that he didn't know that it was that bad. The President also said, we have heard you loud and clear. We will address this problem. And he moved to quickly dismantle SARS. And SARS would have been a real watershed for us, if not for some of the boys and girls who are already drunken with imaginary power and then messed up a good cause. They messed it up. We told them it was time to stop blocking the roads. Even if you block the road, leave a small part for people. People could be in distress. They didn't listen. Agitation became nonsensical. Today, when you talk about NSAS, people remember the Lagos buses that were burnt. We set the state back by more than 10 billion. People remember all the other nasty things that happened, the murder in cold blood of innocent people. But in the early hours of the protest, Nigerians could see why that protest had to happen. It was necessary to draw attention for them, some of those who didn't see that, who didn't think the protest was necessary, is because they had never been victims of police brutality or maybe their relations. If you lose a loved one, look at this woman, 8 years looking for the fruit of the womb. And then she was pregnant by 7 months, for 7 months. Then a good-for-nothing policeman just opened fire on her, struck her in the chest. Anyone who has seen what police brutality looks like would stand in the front and say, look, this thing has to happen. My worry is that at the rate that these people are going, one day there will be another NSAS protest. Because people can't stand. Just within the last few days, this is not the first person that they've killed in Lagos, even in the same area. What's going on? We've talked about the kind of people being recruited into the police. Some of these guys do not have the temperament to carry a gun. And then you just put a gun in their hands. You put a gun in the hands of an idiot. What do you expect him to do with it?
Bolaji, let's have
this is what we have. This is what is happening.
The situation can be really emotional for me. police brutality.
Very, 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 very unfortunate and stands condemnable. Well, you see, we are always condemning things like this without really finding a final solution to such a problem. I wonder the way the husband, the family of this lady will be feeling now, today, on the 25th of December, killed like that, coming from church.
In their presence.
Yeah, in their presence. What the trauma, the island they had is a child in the vehicle too. The trauma that child will be facing.
They had nephews, they had nieces,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah, inside the vehicle. You see, and from what I gathered, like this guy, Mr. Macaroni, I don't know where you know, he was saying that the policeman that killed someone, there was another person that was killed about 2 weeks ago from that same station. You know, so you see, when the IGP is not telling us that there will be a new rule of please. Are they saying we don't have a rule of engagement before?
No, they have to change it. The former police boss, you know, sometimes I think the former IG came to Lagos. There was an incident in which I think it was a girl that was killed.
That was killed, yes.
And then he came to Lagos. Before that, there was another incident in which somebody went to a drunken policeman in this, what do we call it, where they watch football, viewing center. Just killed a boy. I think that boy was a twin or something, you know. Then the IG was forced to come down here and say, see, we are going to be giving them these laser guns. So
stun
that
guns.
Stun guns. Stun guns. We are going to be giving them. We won't be giving them live bullets. This and that, because a policeman just checking vehicles and all that. Why don't we have live ammunition? Even a country like Ghana. You hardly see long rifles.
No. Even Benin Republic there.
Where are you going to see long
rifles? When
rifles?
I went to Benin Republic, they blow whistle.
Why you want to see long rifles?
All right, let me hold your thoughts. But I understand our guest is on live. Group Captain Sadiq Shehu, good to have you on the program this evening. So first off, let's have your perspective on this situation and how do you think this matter can be addressed?
Thank you very much and good evening.
Good evening.
Well, again, this is another sad incident.
Good evening.
And to me, you know, it looks like it is high time we look at the type of weapons handling and rules of engagement training that we give our policemen. And in fact, let's do a holistic approach. Not only policemen, any security agency in Nigeria that is given the right to carry arms for the purpose of protecting citizens should be given adequate training. And here, I think what we are missing, luckily, police, you know, senior officers also talking about rules of engagement. This is not the first time that I have been emphasizing on rules of engagement. 2020, when a detail attached to the Speaker of the House of Representatives shot somebody at Eagle Square, I think it also adds to this, and so many other incidents of our either policemen or other security agencies indiscriminately shooting. Now, how do we address this? The research I carried out honestly is that we have rules of engagement, but we really do not train our security personnel or.
Oh dear, seems to be having a challenge with Group Captain. Okay, go ahead.
In 2017, the investigated issue of compliance with rules of engagement. At that committee sitting, I think it was revealed that really there is little or no rules of engagement training. But whenever it happens, whatever the security agency, what they will say, we use the rules of engagement. A careful analysis, a careful investigation will find that we only mouth these terms, but we really do not give rules of engagement training. What is simply rules of engagement? Rules of engagement training tells whether he's a soldier, a DSS officer, a police officer, a civil defense officer, when should I shoot, when should I not shoot? If you're a law enforcement officer, the rules are very clear. Even though you are given a rifle for a law enforcement function, as opposed to war fighting function, the use of your weapon is a last resort.
Yes.
It's a last resort.
Yes.
A policeman, like in this case, who has served 23 years, you should expect him. He is well trained on the indices he would look at before he even thinks of bringing out his arms. There are things that you look at. When you talk of law enforcement, the purpose is arrest. The purpose is apprehension. The purpose is stopping the commission of a crime. And the only instances in law enforcement where you actually use a weapon is self-defense for you as the law enforcement officer, where you think, you reasonably, I underline the word reasonably, suspect that your life is in danger, or the life of another Nigerian is in danger. That is the only place that you use your weapon in law enforcement function. Throughout, we've had different testimonies from people that were involved in this shooting. I do not see how a police officer of 23 years, if really he is trained, will think that situation warranted him to even point a gun, not talk of shoot at it. There are indices, and with due respect, I have been involved in rules of engagement training, specifically for the Nigerian Army. What we tell them, there is what is called excessive force. There is reasonable force. And that when you say use of force, it starts from stop or I shoot. It is what is called escalation of force procedure. It is a force continuum. The actual shooting being at the last. I am talking purely in a law enforcement function. This lady is not armed. This lady is not running away. Yeah. So I believe a well-trained police officer, so honest, I don't want us to, even though as I call for also the actual, investigation of this case, a very independent investigation, not a cover-up investigation. But I think what we'll find is that we do not give our law enforcement officers or security officers in general enough training on what to decide. Every security officer can shoot. But the question in any instance is, I can shoot, yes, I've been trained to shoot, but should I shoot? Does the situation necessarily warrant me to shoot? There are verbal warnings. There are shooting to kill or to injure is a last resort. That is what I have to say. I think we'll find that we have a problem of training, and we should look beyond this incident.
All right.
The police agencies, the DSS agencies, the civil defense agencies, and the military should all be given proper training of not be mounted. We do not have that training. It is not adequate. That is my point.
Can you, group captain, sir, some people have suggested that the police should carry stun guns and the rest of them. Where do you stand? Instead of these long rifles designed to kill.
There is the UN basic principle on the use of force for law enforcement agencies, which Nigeria subscribes to. What the situation says is that every government of every country should provide a law of office.
Okay, since we're having issues, as soon as we have a group captain back online, we will have his response to that question.
Yes, because at least is familiar about how those weapons can work. Those weapons can still disable a criminal, but not necessarily take a life.
Exactly.
You know,
if you fire a stun gun at someone, that it's like an electricity shock on that person. The person will fall down. Over time, the person will get up again. You can disarm.
If you want to then handcuff the person at that point, you can go ahead and do it. But people in a car just going.
I think we have not had fire. I think it's very important for a thorough investigation to be done, because it begets belief, that look, someone was coming from church, they were parking vehicles, and they said you should park, and they had gunshots. What really happened? What led to that? Was there an altercation? Was there anything? What happened? It's very important to know.
Well, it could even be
accidental discharge.
Exactly. Many people have died from accidental discharge. Exactly. So that's why the issue of inadequate training that he mentioned, it looks really plausible.
Look, when you read, you hear about policemen, soldiers dismantling their gun, coiling it, and coupling it back. Do we even have our men doing that? You see the guns they carry about, rusty looking, dusty, but you don't want to ask them, are you sure this is your gun is working?
Have you not heard of a policeman that was hired to give 21 gun salute at a wedding? I'm sure in your days editing the newspaper must have read that story, encountered that story. He ended up killing the groom. Yes, he was asked to fire into the air, as part of the physics for the wedding. He ended up killing the groom. It happened in the East. Wow. I remember very well.
That was a long...
Will he kill
at all
someone?
Exactly.
Just because you asked to give salute.
To shoot up, not
up. Ended up killing the groom.
This is
See,
sad.
that's
Well,
the
I
thing.
understand
The
we have
training
our
is very
guests.
important. Training.
Okay.
And then the rule of engagement is very important. How do you
Absolutely.
relate with the public?
Absolutely. So let's quickly continue with our guest, Group Captain Sadiq. Please go ahead with the question posed earlier on by Babajide.
Yes, thank you very much. Babajide asked me about the issue of non-lethal weapons. Yes, I was saying there is this UN basic principle on the use of force for law enforcement agencies, a short called BPUFF. What it recommends here, maybe what we are requiring is even a government action, not police action. What the BPUFF says is that every country should provide its law enforcement officials with a range of options to carry out their duties, a range of options. Unfortunately, what we have in Nigeria, whether it is soldiers doing IS operation, whether it is police, whether it is SS, we do not have that range of options. Only one option. And what is that option? Is weapon, rifle with live rounds. And like somebody says, with somebody who is only holding a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. So what the BPFF says is that it includes what you are saying about non-lethal weapons. It includes pepper spray. It includes different kind of electronic decapacitators that when a police officer or any officer doing IS operation decides there is even the need to use force, you don't go straight for your weapon, unless if there's a life-threatening situation for you or another person. If not, that's what I mean by that escalation of force procedure or force continuum. You start with a shout. Then you move with physical stopping. Then you move non-lethal force. Non-lethal force can include this non-lethal weapons you're talking about. It could include pepper spray. It could include, there are visual devices that would even disorient somebody if he hears. Before you finally think, if all these do not work, then you go to the final. That is in a situation where you have the time. Again, I want us to look in context is very important. I am talking of this context of a woman driving to try and take a U-turn. Let's even assume that area is not allowed for U-turn. I think in this particular circumstances, there is enough, there is enough allowance for the officer of 23 years service to look at the different options he has. It's not an option of a policeman confronting a bandit that is firing at him. It's not a situation of a policeman or a soldier facing a Boko Haram terrorist. No, he's an unarmed woman. The trend has to be saying that this woman is driving. In fact, the fact that she is driving means that she cannot even use her hand. Let's assume she has a pistol. All these are supposed to be taken by a well-trained officer. So the issue of non-lethal weapons have been said by the past, even the past IGP, if I remember, but it was never taken forward.
All right, let me hold your thoughts. We need to go on a very quick break. Group Captain, apologies there. Let's quickly go on a very quick break. We'll come back and we have our final thoughts